Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. The cat piss potpourri crowd over at Collective Slag simply won't go away, much like herpes, and they will not stop until they are shamed into non-existence, into crawling back under the little rock. But lately, most recently, over at PC Gamer did an article. They've gone full mask off, say the quiet parts out loud, and just straight up honesty. Legality is not the defining factor. So they don't care whether or not a piece of entertainment is breaking the law. It's just a matter if it hurts their delicate, puerile sensibilities. Anti-porn group that pressured Steam and itch.io adult game delisting. No, they pressured the credit card companies and their banks to turn the screws on Steam. itch.io adult game delisting says it goes after games it doesn't like. So censorship. Full-blown, no questions asked, censorship. They've moved the goalpost. They're not concerned about how popular a franchise is or a genre is. So they're just going to go after it if they don't like it. Legality be damned. Censorship full bore until the end. But I have a question. What about novels? Are you going after the 50 Shades series? I'll ask this every single video I do about these scabs, about these See You Next Tuesdays. And we all know the answer, folks. Of course not. Because if they do that, then they will be driven further down into the caverns, into the rocks that they dwell in on a regular basis, because it's their demographic that absolutely adores those types of books. Media that glorify sexual violence against women harms all women, regardless of whether a few women participate in the creation or consumption. So your opinion be damned. Theirs is the only one that matters. Ever since its claimed victory when payment processors compelled, forced, strong-armed, threatened Steam to delist a number of adult games from its service that were not illegal, this article proves it. Their statement proves it beyond a shadow of a doubt. These games were not illegal. Australian anti-fun group Collective Slag has been relatively quiet. Save for when its founder, pro-life conservative, conservative Christian Melinda Tankard, Christ, why do you have so many names? Are you an ultra serious? Never mind. Popped up on X to denounce those upset about the delistings as, quote, porn-sick, brain-rotted pedo gamer fetishists. That's a hefty little accusation there. You got Christian? Tank ass. I'll call her tank ass. Pedo gamer. I wonder how slanderous or libel, whichever one it is. Pick one. How much is it? Now, group campaign manager Caitlin Roper has had a chat via email with Tweaktown, explaining a bit more about the group's worldview, because I'm sure this will shed so much more light and explain just how righteous their group actually is. I suspect it will not help. Look at you, PC Gamer. Wow. Are they actually on the side of the customer, of the gamer? It might be a first in a long time. Quote, legality is not the defining factor. And we know that it never was. You want to censor things. You want to censor people. You want to censor entertainment because you don't like it. Because you feel like you are the end-all be-all arbiter of what is good, what is wholesome, what should be allowed as entertaining, which, again, is the reason why you will never go after literature. You will never go after the romance novels, the 50 Shades style of books, because they are oh so popular. And the women who would come down and burn your house of cards to the ground, oh, it would be a monumental sight. It would be a thing to behold, torn down by your own. Legality is not the defining factor in how Collective Shout chooses its targets. It's about documented evidence of harm to women and girls, except you have none, because these are pieces of fiction. How many women and girls were harmed by, well, intellectually harmed for sure, but how many were actually physically harmed by the 50 Shades novels or any sort of BDSM literature? The answer is none, because it's fiction. It's make-believe. These are not real people. Quote continues, our work focuses on combating the sexual objectification and exploitation of women and girls, but the exploitation and sexualization of men is perfectly fine because we love seeing the lovely glistening abs. It's the only reason Aquaman 1 made $2 billion or $1 billion, however much it was. It was too much. It's the only reason ladies wanted to go to the movies to see Jason Momoa wet and half naked. Okay, and well, I guess a bunch of men went there to see it too, but that's for totally different reasons. That's okay. Chris Hemsworth? Thor? Love and Thunder? Naked ass? That was okay. Perfectly fine. Sexual objectification and exploitation of men is perfectly all right to groups like this. But when it comes to women and girls, oh no, heaven forbid, we cannot have equal objectification for both genders, can we? I'm in favor of the whole thing. Sex sells. It always has and it always will. Groups like this will not be able to stop it for any considerable length of time. So, what to do? Laugh, point, drive them back into the cat piss potpourri holes that they came from. That said, we call out this objectification and abusive depictions of women, even though it's women writing, women developers, women gamers who are calling you out for your bullshit, who are creating these pieces of work. Interesting. Their opinion doesn't matter because it's not the same as yours. Abusive depictions of women and girls, even where they are not illegal. So, again, indeed, when itch.io de-indexed not safe for work games on its platform, regardless of the nature of legality of their content, Collective Shout boasted that it was the 27th win of the year. Censorship. That this sweeping blow had caught all sorts of creators in its net, women included, but they don't care, because those women, those female creators, female customers, female enjoyers of the naughty, nasty little games there, they don't matter because they're not thinking properly. They are, I believe it's been called closet misogynist, internal misogyny. That's what it was, this stupid little statement there. More buzzwords to add to the word salad, huh? Seemingly does not matter. Quote, again, there is no greater removal of a woman's agency than struggle snuggles. I'm sorry, what is that? What? Okay. Media that glorifies sexual violence against women harms all women, except that you don't have any proof of that. Just like violent video games cause violence in the real world. There is zero evidence of that causation or even correlation. Nothing. They don't go hand in hand. If it did, again, I will say this every single time, just to remind, because, hey, every video is someone's first. If there was even one, this is how bad, this is how inconsequential these ideas are. They're nonsense. They can't even find a single solitary study to support the nonsense they are spewing. They just need one. Just one. And they can't even manipulate one to push their agenda. That should tell you everything you need to know. Media that glorifies sexual violence against women harms all women, even though it doesn't, regardless of whether a few women, and it's not a few, okay, 50 Shades of Grey was a best seller. It was a top seller, if not number one. And it wasn't because of men, you ignorant egg-bearing slags. It wasn't because of men. At least heterosexual men. Regardless of whether a few women participate, I smacked my... Oh, my God, I haven't done that in a while. You see how easily I'm distracted. Regardless of whether a few women participate in its creation or consumption. So they don't even care if, ladies, if you put your hard work, effort, heart, and soul into creating little kinky fetish little game that entertains you, that you want to bring out to an audience that entertains them, they don't care. Your opinion, your work, your dream of developing a, well, not safe for work, giggity game, it doesn't matter because it's not right. They don't like it. What happened to these women in their lives? My goodness. That it seemed to have disproportionately impacted queer creators. Oh, really? Against whom indecency laws have historically been wielded as a cudgel, likewise did not merit attention, or likewise did not merit a mention in collective shouts right up. If anyone was caught in the sweep that should not have been, says Roper, the fault is with the platform responsible. Oh, I beg to differ. Wait, so hold on. If women created it, they don't care. But if it was a queer creator, an LGBTQ alphabet, whatever you want to call it, then that's the platform's fault, not the collective Slags. Really? Well, that's interesting. If anyone was caught in the sweep that should not have been, says Roper, the fault is with the platform responsible. No, I disagree. It's with the collective Slags and their heavy-handed, nonsensical, overly puritanical, nonsensical, morally ethical push because they just don't like it. I wonder if it's because their husbands or significant others or whatever they decide to call them just don't want to pay attention to them anymore. That's a question, not a statement. The cat piss potpourri perfume, that's definitely a statement because I would not doubt any of that. Quote, I would say that if Steam and itch.io had been moderating their platform as they should have, they have been for illegal content. They have been moderating it. And there's not been anything illegal. But you decided to strong-arm the payment processors, and they had no choice because the platforms still have to make money. If they'd been moderating their platform as they should have, there would have been no need for temporarily delist games to ensure they were not in violation of their policies. But the games didn't violate their policies of the platform. You forced the payment processors to be heavy-handed. Asked what the group thinks of claims that its campaign amounts to censorship, because it does, Roper said, quote, not being able to access struggle snuggle games from popular gaming platforms is a minor inconvenience. It's censorship, not a violation of a person's rights. We're not talking about rights. It's censorship. It's a violation of censorship. That's what it is. Payment processors get to determine if they do not want to host illegal content. It's not illegal, including struggle snuggle, sexual violence, incest, child, all this other. You go ahead and read that. I don't know what I don't know what YouTube's going to let me say anymore or not. So let's make sure the message gets out there without being throttled. Now, all that not so fun stuff. It's fiction. Overly, Cenk Uygering a horse is illegal. Writing a story about Cenk Uygur with a horse is not illegal. Having a video game about Cenk Uygur with a horse is not illegal. This, in a video game, is not illegal. Now, we're going to get opinionated on that little subject there. Okay? I don't ever want to see that in a video game. You decide for yourself. Incest. There's a whole section on Pornhub for that. There's a whole section on sexual violence on Pornhub for that. People are weird. But here's the thing. When it comes to video game, which is a form of literature, because there's writing and developing, there's a story there. It's not illegal. It is not verboten. It is, I believe there's already been a ruling that the law does not cover, or what is it? Video games, literature, books, and whatnot is not covered by that particular law, so you have no leg to stand on, at least in the United States. I guess Australia is a little different with their rules. Exploitation and bestiality. Shouldn't there be an A in there? I'm glad I don't know that. Which they already determined. I would ask those who view the loss of their Struggle Snuggle games as censorship, because it is censorship, not viewed as censorship, it is censorship, to consider if they are as concerned with women's basic human rights. But we're not talking about human rights. We're talking about fucking video games. We're talking about fiction, fantasy, make-believe, escapism. These two things are not the same. And the glorification of male violence against women. What about the glorification of female violence against men? That's okay, I'm sure. They love that. There is, of course, an issue here in widening its scope to focus on legal content and in pursuing its campaign by pressuring payment processors. It's a whole bunch of peas. Rather than elected government officials, collective Slag opens the door to grim outcomes highlighted by Nier creator Yoko Taro last year. Quote, the fact that payment processor, which is involved in the entire infrastructure of content distribution, can do such things at its own discretion seems to me to be dangerous on a whole new level. It implies that by controlling payment processing companies, you can even censor another country's free speech. I heard a little bit of this coming out on a few other channels about payment processors wanting to ban or censor anime and manga because it had naughty things in it. This is a problem. This is stifling creativity. It is a poster child for censorship, and it needs to be talked about. It needs to be fought against. These ignorant twats at Collective Slag need to be stopped no matter what, because they will not stop at the Struggle Snuggle games. They'll move on to something else once they get their way, once they get bored, moving on. For many people angered by the delisting, the problem is not that they wanted access to the games in question, but rather that the entire notion of payment processors unilaterally dictating what alts can and can't spend their money on feels entirely at odds with the very notion of a free and democratic society. It's a free market. It has nothing to do with a free democratic society. Collective Shout has no answer. Collective Slag is not an answer. This is stifling of creativity. It is going after, they do not care whether it is legal or illegal in every single game. All of the stuff out there that they're going after, they're legal. Steam, itch.io, I seriously doubt, I do not believe they're going to risk any sort of actual litigation against their platform by allowing something that is against the law. That's why it's nifty. It's fiction. We'll say this one more time before I get the hell out of here and stop going off on tangents. It's fiction. Make-believe does not follow the same laws. They are going after legal entertainment because they don't like it. That is a problem. That is wrong, regardless of what side of the ideological fence, religious fence, or whatever fence you decide to sit, even if you decide to sit and spin on it. It's wrong by all accounts. I have been and always will be anti-censorship, regardless of whether or not I agree with what you have to say or what you want to write or what game you want to create. Freedom of expression, freedom of creativity is rather important when it comes to culture, entertainment, escapism. It is a necessity for adults. It's a necessity for children. Just make sure you pay attention to what your kids are reading and watching and playing. A group like Collective Slag needs to go back to the dirty, dank, cat piss potpourri hole that they crawled out of and, well, get bent, leave us alone. Let us enjoy our entertainment. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Leave a like, leave a dislike, do all those nifty little things that YouTube is begging you to do. And I hope to see you on the next one.